Hey Buns, welcome to 2021. I hope you had a lovely New Year's celebration. Naoki Yoshida has sent us a New Year's greeting letter, a New Year's message here. And I felt like it was a bit ominous, a bit concerning. I don't know if it's really concerning or if I'm overreacting. I feel like it's very likely that I'm overreacting because I do that all the time. And I have anxiety, so it doesn't take a lot to get me distressed. But I think it's best, like, first I'll read the letter and then we'll talk about it. We'll talk through it. Okay. It's a New Year's greeting message. So this is supposed to be lighthearted. It's supposed to make you feel good about the future and optimistic and stuff. So I feel like I probably am overreacting. Let's just read it. Hello, this is producer and director Naoki Yoshida wishing all of you Warriors of Light a happy new year. 2020 was a year that won't soon be forgotten, and I mean that not only for our development and operations teams, but also for our players and indeed the entire world. Even now, the threat of COVID-19 continues to present us with unprecedented daily challenges, the likes of which we only knew about through history books. Yeah, tell me about it. I just found out that 3 people in my family have tested positive for COVID, and another person in my immediate family very likely could have it. And also I'm worried about my grandparents could possibly have it. So I'm pretty stressed still. I mean, so far, 2021 feels like more of the same, but things might get better. Hopefully sooner rather than later. In the midst of this adversity, we're determined to provide you with a source of entertainment while remaining mindful that our team members too have their own families and are facing the same hardships as everyone else. Setting up stable working environments and figuring out how to get on with things was, I think, a common experience for a great many people. And through it all, we've received messages of support from a truly staggering number of players. When things get rough, it is your voices which spur us on and keep us moving forward. We thank you for all of your thoughtful words of encouragement. Adapting to the obstacles of COVID-19 is an ongoing struggle, but we remain committed to developing and running Final Fantasy XIV to the best of our ability. So where do we stand? The saga of Shadowbringers concluded in patch 5.3 and hinted at the next story to come. But of course we had patch 5.4, which then flipped the page to the final chapter in the tale of this star. Yes, I remember that, and I think that I chose to ignore that when I first saw it on screen. I remember I saw that on screen. It said, like, this is the final chapter, and I was like, that's weird. I just, like, went on to continuing the story, like, enjoying the rest of the story. It's like I blocked it out because I didn't want to contemplate that as a possibility. What do you mean, final chapter? Keep a close eye on the team's progress this year as events build once more to a thrilling and unexpected ending. And here's the most important part in this whole letter. To the story, not to Final Fantasy XIV itself. To the story, not to Final Fantasy XIV itself. We'll talk more about that in a second. Let's finish with the letter. I'd barely finished typing this when I had an unannounced visitor, a minstrel, as he introduced himself, on a journey from faraway lands. He's, of course, referencing the Wandering Minstrel, which is Yoshida's, like, self-insert character into the game. He placed a note into my hands, and it had this poem written on it. Our progeny may never know wherefore we look unto the sky, nor why we dig for truths below. We bear their scorn, or watch them die. So our progeny, meaning like our children, our descendants, they will never know why we look onto the sky or in the ground. So they'll never know why. They'll never know what we know. They'll never know the things that we know. Okay, so they don't know our story. We bear their scorn. Okay, so they don't know what we know. And they're mad about it. And we have to put up with them being mad about it, or we'll watch them die. We'll telling them whatever secrets we know. Kill them somehow? What do you mean watch them die? I don't know. I don't really know. That's kind of where it lost me. It makes me feel confused. Don't know. Who is the Resolute Man anyway? The Resolute Man is not the Wandering Minstrel. The Minstrel is just the messenger. Who is the Resolute Man? Who would say such a thing? Who is this Resolute Man? And what is this about his progeny scorning him? I turned to put these questions to the traveler, but he was gone, vanished, as if swallowed into a rift between worlds. Swallowed us into a rift between worlds. While we could ponder the meaning of this verse and make a few guesses, the upcoming Final Fantasy XIV announcement showcase planned for February might help us make more sense out of it as the day draws near and we make our preparations. I'm as excited as anyone to see what this event has in store. What are you talking? Yeah, you know what the event has in store. You're Yoshida. You know what's in store. You're planning it. Meanwhile, we're entering our 11th year of operation since the original release of Final Fantasy XIV. The development and running of an MMORPG is an incredibly difficult undertaking, and the larger in scale they are, the fewer of them survive beyond the 10-year mark. It's thanks to you, our Warriors of Light, and your inexhaustible enthusiasm that we've reached this amazing milestone. Oh, don't be so shy. You should, it's you. You did it. You saved it. You saved us. Please continue to lend us your support, and we'll do our utmost to reward your passion for the game with captivating stories. I'm going to highlight this too. And high adventure. Stories. More stories. Not just this one that is apparently ending, but stories as in future extra stories in the future. More stories. Not end. Not end. New ones. Lastly, I'd like to address a slightly different topic. As the battle against COVID-19 rages on, one of the toughest jobs falls on our healthcare workers who risk themselves on the front lines to care for the infected and shield the rest of us from harm. Amongst the words of encouragement we received, there were many messages from these self-same workers that were both heartfelt and heartbreaking. No matter how tough things get, I can always see my friends in Final Fantasy XIV. It gives me the strength to face the next day. Please keep it up. We need this. If anyone should be grateful for something, it's us. Thank you for everything you do. You work under enormous stress, but despite all the sacrifices you make, some people still treat you with disrespect, and it's unforgivable. Sometimes you must wonder why you work so hard when you encounter those who clearly don't appreciate it. But you can't carry the world on your shoulders. Our earnest comments may not affect you as keenly as one pointed and thoughtless remark, but know that you always have our gratitude and support. Allow me to offer you that at the very least. We will keep doing all we can, and I hope our efforts give you reason to smile in these difficult times. What a class act. That was really, I really appreciated the nod to the healthcare workers who are on the front lines still as the battle against COVID rages on still a year later. Still, and honestly, some of the sentiments that were shared here, like, it gives me strength to face the next day. I can always see my friends in Final Fantasy XIV. Like, it echoes a lot of what I heard from y'all in the previous video that I released, where I asked y'all, like, how did Final Fantasy XIV help you get through 2020? And it just shows you how big of a positive impact this game can have in people's lives, and how the relationships that you make in the game and these bonds that you build make this experience of being in Final Fantasy XIV add up to somehow more than the sum of its parts. So with that in mind, I don't think that you would, in a New Year's message, be like, hey, so we've heard how important Final Fantasy XIV is to you and how it's been a lifeline for you, and so we're gonna announce the end of I don't think that's the purpose of this letter. I think it's teasing. It is teasing hard. The event that we're gonna be expecting in February, where we will be getting a lot of information about 6.0, I assume. I mean, who knows what all will be in that. I'll pull up this slide here that we got regarding the announcement showcase. It's gonna be on Friday, February 5th. At 5:30 p.m. PST. Now, if you're in Europe, that will be 1:30 in the morning GMT. So for me, it's going to be 3:30 in the morning. Maybe my sheer adrenaline will keep me awake, most likely. I understand that some people, including myself when I first read it, panic a little bit when you hear, like, end of the story. What is the final chapter in the Tale of the Star actually mean? Now, I did make a video a while back about the end of Final Fantasy XIV and sort of looking into comments that Yoshida had made in the past that made me feel like, yes, this tale about Hydaelyn and Zodiark will end, but there will likely be a new tale, like a new story after that. So I'm just going to reference a couple of interviews here. This is an interview that was posted on a JP blog on June 5th, 2020, in which Yoshida had been, well, this is a translation sourced from the Final Fantasy XIV subreddit Discord server, where they provide a lot of unofficial translations. So thank y'all for doing that. Yoshida said the ending/finale of the main story scenario is already decided, Hydaelyn and Zodiark arc. So please look forward to it. Just because the Hydaelyn Zodiark arc ends doesn't mean the end of Final Fantasy XIV. There will be a new story arc beyond this. So that's what I think he is alluding to. And in an interview with Kotaku that happened at E3 in 2017, Yoshida said, and this was right after the release of Stormblood, there's this overarching story, and I've actually set a goal or endpoint for that arc. That's one of the things I want to accomplish, is to be able to finish that narrative. How long will that be? Said the interviewer. Yoshida said, I think we'd need at least another 2 more expansions. And so he said that right after Stormblood released, and that would make sense that 6.0 would actually be the final chapter in the star. But what lies beyond that? Do they want to actually make a new story arc within Final Fantasy XIV? Or would they want to make a new Final Fantasy MMO that takes the new story from there? I don't think that they would end the story of Final Fantasy XIV altogether without giving us a new MMO to move to, sort of like what happened with Final Fantasy XI, which is still running and still getting content updates, but of course many of those players moved on to Final Fantasy XIV. Would the same thing happen again? Like, honestly, I wouldn't mind. I would actually welcome a new shiny MMO without the spaghetti code that gets referenced so often. As long as I can be a bunny girl, as long as I can still, like, maybe somehow copy my character into a new MMO, I would be happy for that. But that's all wild speculation. Like, I think that it's way more likely that we will just get a new story arc. Don't go watching this video and then run to your friends and say, oh, Zeppela said there's going to be a new MMO. Zeppela said it's the end of Final Fantasy XIV. I didn't say that. Okay, we're brainstorming what could happen with the future of the story. I think that we might find the answers to those questions in the February announcement showcase, because there is no reason that he would mention all of these things so specifically without knowing that in February, very soon, it's the beginning of February, like in 1 month from now, he would have the answers, or at least like some more answers for us. I genuinely don't feel like it's going to be the end of Final Fantasy XIV. Like, I don't think that, because he clearly says it's the end to this particular story, not to Final Fantasy XIV itself. And that's why ending is in quotes. That's why it's in quotes, because it just means that he's kidding, and it's not really an ending. An ending to mark a new beginning. Right? The question is, where will a new story take place? I think that we might actually see part of the CGI trailer during this February announcement thing. In the meantime, I will just have to ask you what you make of this letter. What's your take on final chapter in the Tale of the Star? What does that mean to you? What kind of new story arc do you think could take place? And do you think it'll take place inside Final Fantasy XIV? Or do you think they would actually make a new MMO? I think that's probably that's a wild speculation, but I don't know. I'm asking you. I would love to hear your opinions on this, because Buns, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please consider supporting the channel on Patreon or on Twitch. You can also support the channel for free by clicking the subscribe button or by sharing this video with your fellow Warriors of Darkness. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.